It's rhubarb season. It's everyone's favorite time, including mine. This vegetable is one of my favorite things, and many of you have asked me for my favorite recipe. So today we're going to make a pie. Yes, we're making pie again. My rhubarb pie with homemade vanilla ice cream. So today we're going to make rhubarb pie, and I'm really lucky because between my house and my neighbor's house, Sandra, we have a rhubarb patch that I get to use every year. So this morning I went out and cut down some rhubarb, and I love pie, but I always find when I make rhubarb pie it gets like a little bit slushy and gross. So this actually is almost like a custardy rhubarb pie because it incorporates eggs and cream. And then, you know, just because we're going to make homemade vanilla ice cream. So all we need for this is rhubarb, eggs, sugar, flour, and luckily I have a pie crust that I made the other day and froze, so let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do for our pie is I'm going to chop my rhubarb. So it takes about 4 cups of this beautiful rhubarb.
I mean, rhubarb is definitely one of my favorite things that pops up in the spring. I just love it. I don't know what it is. It's just so nostalgic for me.
Well, it's nostalgic for me because I grew up in Shawville, Quebec, and my neighbor Sheila McDowell had this giant rhubarb patch in her backyard. And as a kid, I remember like running out and I would like pluck it from her yard, and then I would sit on the stoop at my house and like dip my rhubarb in sugar. And I remember once Sheila caught me and I got in a lot of trouble.
What are some other things you do love to make with rhubarb?
Rhubarb crisp, you know that. I love rhubarb crisp. Rhubarb pie, and then I stew rhubarb. And then what I do often, you'll see me, is I'll strain it and make like a syrup, and then you can use that syrup, whether it's for a drink for the kids, I'll just like mix it with soda water, or you could mix it with Prosecco.
We've had some great rhubarb cocktails at the restaurant, actually. Is there anything else that people should know about using rhubarb?
Don't eat the leaves. The leaves are poisonous. So I've got about 4 cups of rhubarb. I have my oven at 350. I have one of my pie crusts that I actually already blind baked. And you know, the pie crust is in the pumpkin pie versus sweet potato pie recipe. I don't like it too sweet, so I add about a cup of sugar to this. But you could go like up to like even like a cup and a half. And then I'm gonna add 3 tablespoons of flour.
What does the flour do?
It just helps sort of keep it from being like really, you know, you get a pie, sometimes it's slushy. So I'm just gonna mix this up in my bowl so that it all gets incorporated. I'm gonna do 3 eggs, 3 whole eggs. I'm gonna add about 2 tablespoons of cream. You could also add milk. And then all you wanna do is just mix that all together and put it into your pie shell. And then Doug, this takes like about an hour 15. See how simple that is? That's it. Now you could add vanilla to this. You could add lemon zest to this.
One of my favorite combinations, strawberry and rhubarb.
Well, strawberry rhubarb, that's a good one for like usually the crisp, right?
Yeah.
I know this weekend at work, Bailey's making rhubarb crisp for the take-home dessert.
Oh yeah.
So I know he's very excited to clean about 60 pounds of rhubarb this weekend. So you want to just mix this until it's completely incorporated. And I'm going to grab my pie shell that I baked off this morning.
That pie shell looks amazing too.
Well, you know, it's my pie dough. You know where to find it. Well, it's a butter crust that I learned from Jennifer at Les Fougères, because they used to make so many tortillas in the winter that she taught me the perfect crust recipe. So I'm going to put this all in here.
That seriously took like 2 minutes.
2 minutes. And now I'm basically going to throw this in my oven, and it's going to take about an hour to an hour and 15 depending on your oven. Now we're going to make vanilla ice cream. Now you can use this base and turn it into like chocolate or rhubarb or strawberry or whatever you want. But today we're just going to do like straight up vanilla, and it's really, really easy. And I think a lot of us are really scared of making ice cream. I'm going to start with 4 egg yolks. And to that I'm going to add 3/4 cup of sugar.
Somebody was asking in the comments the other day about when you do have to just use egg yolks, what do you do with all those whites that are kicking around afterwards?
You can freeze the whites, and then you can use for meringue. For someone who doesn't bake, I've certainly done a lot of baking lately. So you just want to mix your sugar and your egg yolks before adding it to your liquid. And I'm going to add 1 cup of heavy cream, and then 2 cups of whole milk. I've also done it in the past where I've used all heavy cream. So I'm gonna add that. And all you wanna do for this is just slowly bring it up to temperature. I'm gonna add a pinch of salt, always, and then a little bit of vanilla. Now you could use a vanilla bean, you could use vanilla extract, so that's about a teaspoon, I'd say.
There's really nothing better than a scoop of vanilla ice cream on pie though. Like it's a hard combination to argue with.
Well, it is. And I know last year I made so much ice cream during the first lockdown. So I'm gonna add my eggs and sugar to this. And then I'm just gonna basically mix this. So now I'm just gonna stir and bring this up to 170 degrees Fahrenheit. And then I'm gonna strain it into my bowl with my strainer to catch any bits and pieces that we don't want in there. And then you wanna let it cool completely. So overnight in your fridge is best before putting it into your ice cream machine. And all you have to do with your ice cream machine is follow the instructions. But it usually takes about, I don't know, like 20, 25 minutes once I put it in my machine, I think.
And you usually like to throw it back in the freezer to help it set up a little bit more, right?
And then I throw it back in the freezer for a few hours. The pie has been cooling down from the oven. So I'm gonna bring it over.
Looks amazing, by the way.
And I pulled my ice cream out of the freezer to let it soften a little bit so that I could actually get something nice. I'm gonna cut you a slice, Doug. It's always like the weird moment of truth with a pie, like you don't know what's gonna happen.
Whether it's gonna just sort of all fall apart or whether it's gonna be a perfect wedge of deliciousness.
Well, I mean, I know it's gonna be delicious. That's not the issue.
Oh yeah, looks amazing. Oh yes.
Well, Doug, week 4 of lockdown number 3, and I'm like on a pie making mission. How's this one compared to the last pie?
So good. I mean, totally different. Coconut cream pie was off the charts. So
Coconut cream pie was. I kept going to the
Oh.
fridge and taking little bites when no one was looking.
And if you haven't seen the recipe yet, we'll just link up here, but man, that was delicious. But this is amazing too. It's like, I love rhubarb. Like I always love rhubarb.
Yeah.
Thank God for spring and there's lots of new things growing and the trees and the flowers and everything are blooming and it's like, that's what's getting us through this shitstorm right now. All right, well, if you like what you see, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. We'll be back again next week with another recipe and keep the suggestions coming.
And I promise it won't be pie.
What's wrong with pie?
Nothing's wrong with
Maybe
pie.
this should be just like a pie channel.